everybody that's joining us on the Switch. This is a podcast brought to you by Break Connect, hosted by Luis Prado and myself, Felix. And it's all about, looking for people that found a passion and were able to turn that into something so much more.
Short and sweet and to the point. I love Felix's intros, and we are here for the third episode of The Switch. As he mentioned, my name is Luis Prado. I am El Prad. I'm the social media guy for Break Connect, and the other half of that duo is right here with me in this chat room. We've got Felix. He already introduced himself, but we are not the important ones here today. We've got a third person here with us, as per usual. Our guest this time around is actually our first European guest. First of hopefully many down the line, but it's not just any European guest, it's a big one. We've got MG joining us here all the way from across the globe. MG, thank you so much for joining with us, man.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, what's up, everyone? Looking forward to this.
Man, we've been looking forward to this for a really long time. When Felix first let me know that he locked you down as a guest, I was like, dude, are you serious? Like, this is crazy. This is a big one. And as we talked about before we got started, Outbreak was one of Felix's biggest inspirations for Break Connect as a whole. And when he took that trip over there and came back, he personally had told me, this was back before Patreon, before we were even really in the mode for Break Connect. He was like, dude, I'm so inspired. Like, I want to do so much. Like, Break Connect could go so crazy. Like, I've seen the vision. I've seen what it's like when you really like commit yourself to something and you push forward. And I was like, man, like you sound like you're ready to do some crazy stuff right now. Let's do it. And the fact that he was able to bring you in and lock you down after having that conversation years ago, I think is what makes, this community and also just what we do so beautiful, right? So thank you again, man. Thank you so much. Felix, I don't know if you want to expand a little bit on what that experience was like for you, for those of you listening at home.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of my initial international events. So like my first international event was I went to Yalta for Yalta Summer Jam. And that was always kind of on my bucket list. And I got like Intact and Roughing the Attack, like those guys like held me down over there. And then I was like, okay, my next trip, it needs to be Outbreak. And again, Intact was like, cool, I'll get us a place to stay. And he got the hookup, like it was like that apartment building. I don't know if it was a school or what, but I basically
Mm-hmm.
so he got me a place to crash, and it was just like, how people say like New York City's a melting pot, but in reality, it's more like there's like different meals spread out across the city. Outbreak was a melting pot. I've never heard so many dialects of one language and then another language and another language. Like I felt at home just because I was surrounded by so many people that spoke Russian, and I'm always kind of missing that, And I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna speak Russian. And then like, oh, by the way, there's also Spanish speakers, Italian speakers, people that actually like from Slovakia, from the Czech Republic, from like people from Brazil, like there's people from like every like globe of the world. What's crazy is there's people from New York that I've never spoken to when I lived in New York, like before I moved to San Diego, that I saw there, and I'm like, I know you, and we're gonna talk now because we're familiar to each other from the New York scene. We're only speaking to each other for the first time in Slovakia. So that was crazy to me. Like when I saw the way you handle like ticketing, and then like getting everyone like in line into the battle. I mean, it was just like a crazy experience. And then on top of that, it was just like this big party. It's just massive, massive party every night. I mean, it was really fun. It was like one of those experiences like that stays with you. So yeah, if you never went, you need to go. And I actually need to go again. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, we gotta
Wow,
go.
thank you for your feedback. Like this means a lot, bro. Like, yeah, crazy. Thank you so much.
So before we get into everything that you do, which is a lot, we came prepared. We've got the whole scope here. This is a personal question that I'm curious about. Why is your name MG? What does MG stand for?
It's very simple. It's just initials of my name because my name is Martin Gillian, so it's yeah, just MG.
Perfect. Hey, I'm there too. My breaker name is El Prad, and it's like initials, Luis Prado, shortened it El Prad. I'm glad someone else is on the name wave here. Um, So it's really important to address everything that you do because you're not just someone that does one thing. You do so many different things. You are an MC, you are a breaker, you are an artist, a musical artist, you are the head judge at the Olympics for breaking, you have the legits. We have so much to cover here, but I think it all starts from one core place, and that is breaking and hip hop. So what got you into breaking? How did you start? What was your first introduction to hip hop in general?
Okay, so the first touch was the I always say this, it was the Run DMC Is Like That music video clip that I saw on TV in the early 2000s in Slovakia when I was around maybe 15 years old, like really late. But I was playing soccer. I was in a professional soccer school in elementary and high school. So all my time went to soccer. So when I was in 2004, when I was 19, I moved to Florida because I got a scholarship to study at university. It was Broward Community College and then Florida International University. So this was the time when I decided to quit soccer. Because to be honest, there was some kind of corruption, so it kind of like made, it watered down the sport for me in a way. And so when I was in Florida, I was like, okay, finally I can try to learn or start learning breaking. Again, I was 19, really late. And also one of my best friends, MK, that I have company with, he was dancing. He was more of a hip hop choreography dancer back then, but he had some friends who were breakers. So I was already trying some moves in Slovakia before moving to US. But when I moved to US, that's when I really started like practicing on my own. At that time, there was no YouTube. There were just VHS tapes, and I remember I learned my first moves like six step, watching. I think it was a Battle of the Year website, and it was described how to do six step, like described, like it was not a video. It was like, okay, put your right leg, and it's just like it was really funny. And I remember I was trying to learn a windmill first, but I did munch mill instead. It was just so funny. But yeah, so I got to hip hop, introduced to hip hop through the It's Like That music video clip from Run DMC. And then when I moved to Florida, I actually started, and eventually I met Max One, and all that, legacy started. So
Man, that's so interesting. You wanted to learn windmill, but you went one step further and you picked up munchmill. That's crazy.
yeah.
And especially because you had to learn from words, not even video. That's what a lot of people don't really realize is like video is so
Yeah.
convenient nowadays. Um, but knowing what we know now, that's where you started and that's how you got into breaking. At what point did you think to yourself, there's more to learn here? It's not just breaking, it's more than just it's hip hop. There's four elements. When did you decide to tap into the rest of the elements that you've explored so far?
It was really because of Max One, who was my mentor, because, for 2 years I was learning just moves, head spin, all the power moves, not even footwear that much. It actually, Outbreak 3 in 2006 was an eye opener. That was my first event in Fort Lauderdale, in the Revolution Club, where I just saw like everybody was doing footwork, like Mad Flavor, Mad Style, Florida, you know, I don't know, Mine 180, Main Ingredients, Rockstrike, Kid David won that year, and everybody was just doing footwork, and I'm like, why are these guys are doing footwork? Like, I was learning power moves at that time, and all that was, it was power. And then I tried to do like more footwork, and I'm like, damn, this is difficult. Like to make it look really fresh, it's really difficult. So that's when I actually kind of turned into more like a being a footwork hat, because this for me this was like a real essence of breaking. And this is when I met Max, and Max really introduced me to all the elements of hip hop and start like educating me on many things. I mean, by that time I still was calling breaking breakdance, and like I was really told, I admit it, I always admit it. I'm gonna be honest about it. So Max One really changed my perspective, on breaking and hip hop culture.
Shout out to Max, man. Rest in peace. It's something that we're definitely going to talk about further down the line, but it is important to also address that you make music. You make music as well. Um, Talk about that timeline a little bit, because you were breaking and obviously you're exposed to so many true hip hop artists. At what point did you decide to also contribute to the world of music and start making your own tracks?
Been writing lyrics already since 2012, I would say. I wrote a lot of songs, but I never actually recorded any. And basically, when I decided do something or record something and publish something was when Max One passed away, because that was a big hit in my life. It was one of the hardest moments in my life because Max One was one of my best friends. So I just wanted to know, let the world know what an amazing guy he was. And so that's why I just wrote this song. And with my producer, Pietro Royalty, he sampled this track and we did this song. And we actually performed it live at Outbreak in 2018, in front of people like before the finals. And that was one of the most difficult, but the most beautiful moment to see everybody like the energy, coming together. So yeah, passing of Max One was really you can say the main inspiration behind my music. Too, because my it's all about having like or being like doing the conscious rap. For me, like through hip hop or through lyrics, you can express or spread something, express some emotions. So like that's why I'm doing it. And yeah, Max was the first inspiration. After this, I was in Brazil, for example, with Kleju and with Killa Rockers crew. I was like, okay, let's do a track about how real Brazil is. So we created a track, The Realness. We went to favela. That story was like just crazy. And from then on, I just tried to bring people together with them. We did It's Breaking with El Nino. It's just really nice to get people together from the breaking community. I really love to see B-boys and B-girls who are emceeing or singing, to bring them together. And or even Flea Rock, I know Flea was rapping, is like, okay, let's do a track, Ivan, Urban Action Figure. So for me, music is more about like connecting, expressing it together, and it's just really beautiful vibes. That's why
Yeah,
I'm doing
man.
it.
That's the world of hip hop, man. It's all surrounded by love, right? And that's what connects us all. It's the same love for the artistry and the culture. So I'm really glad that you kind of dove into that. Obviously, for me, being able to get to know you through this interview, I already kind of came into this knowing how important Mex One was to you, but right now you're kind of like really bringing that home because his presence was felt in basically everything that you've done in the world of hip hop. Talk a little bit about that mentorship relationship with Mex. And how did, I'm sure it had a lot to do in the story, but from that, how did Outbreak Europe come to be?
So, I was studying university in Florida. I graduated in the summer of 2009, and actually, there was a bunch of things that's happened around that time because, I got like I was in an MBA program, like very prestigious. Like I could get any job I wanted with any corporation. But at that time in 2008, 2009 was a huge economic crisis in US, and it was very hard to get job. And I was going through interviews and for example, I don't know, with some insurance company, and I was like learning, like, okay, this is how you need to kind of like lie or something to customers just to get them, and I'm like, what is this? Like, this is why I studied 5 years to do stuff like this. And I was, talking a lot with Max, and he was like, bro, like, just forget it. Like, just do what I do here in the US, just do it in Europe. Like, I give you all the know-how, I connect you with everybody, like you can choose. And because I was also afraid to lose hip hop and breaking if I'm gonna get employed in some corporation. And for me, like I love this self-expression in so many ways, and I met so many amazing people. So it was the right timing, it was a crisis. It's hard for me to get a job. I didn't want to do or spend my life doing something I don't want to do and hurt people, let's say, let's put it that way. But instead, I wanted to unite and create platforms and build something for other people. Like for me, my life vision is like building, empowering, and making difference in other people's life. Like this is what I'm about, and this is exactly what Max was doing. So when he told me this that I could do this, then he's like, "You want to live a dream of somebody else, or you want to create your own world?" Basically, that was it. After he asked me this, I was like, "For sure, I want to create my own world." And that's what I did. Like I moved back to Europe. I started a company with MK with one of my best friends, and we start distributing Biggest and Baddest in Europe and some other US breaking brands. And then he was like, yo, like let's do Outbreak, let's do Outbreak in Europe. Like I'll also teach you how to do it, like imagine you're gonna do your first B-boy jam, breaking jam, and it's Outbreak Europe, I mean, we did the qualifier for Slovakia. That was actually our first jam, okay, but our second jam was Outbreak Europe, and Then again, I think the first year, 31 or 33 countries showed up, and we were just like mind blowing, you know. And we had Rockstride, Lean Rock, Keeps, he David, Max was in our hometown. It was incredible. It was incredible vibe. So yeah, Max was really a mentor, and he already knew what works, what doesn't work. So he helped us skip a lot of years of trial and error. I know at later stages I was trying to do something at the event without telling him, and then I did it, and it was really bad. And Max was like, "See, I told you not to do it."
Hey, real
So I
quick,
was like, yeah,
what
especially in the.
thing? What was the thing that you
I,
did that you done? Just this
I
is
did the crew battles press selection. I added an extra category crew battle. I don't know which year was that. It was the second or third year of Outbreak Europe. So I did the crew battle press selection on the main day of Outbreak, which is Saturday. And instead of having cipher time in between the dope battles, we had the press selection. So it kind of like killed the vibe, Like we just had another day of press selection, and I didn't expect so many crews gonna show up, and it's like 80 or 90 crews, 5 people and more in the crew. And I was like, damn, So there was no time for ciphers, and it was just like battles to press selection battles. It was just like kind of like a messed up day, because the main day of Outbreak is Saturday, and this is when you just have the top 16 to final battles, and in between you have the cipher time. Especially there's like a 2-hour cipher time break when we usually have Fusic or the dope DJs, dropping some hot beats, and this is the real time for breakers to get down, score some beef or whatever, just having fun, not just about, not just having the competition, but the actual cipher time and exchange. So yeah, I think it was maybe 2012, 2013, but I really messed up, and Max was like, "See what you did? You just killed the vibe." I was like, "Yeah."
Man, that's wild. Especially now the way that you word it, saying that your second event ever was Outbreak Europe. That's crazy. You're
Yeah.
going from like a little qualifier to like this is a big deal. Did you ever feel any pressure to deliver like this quality product because it was Outbreak?
Of course. I mean, I was like, how are we gonna bring that vibe that I experienced in US for all the outbreaks, like the super raw Florida, vibe, like everybody's hungry, aggressive, like the vibe, like just the lights, dark, good music, like grimy sounds. Like, how are we gonna bring it to our hometown, which is not really a hip hop town, so to say. But again, through the mentorship of Max, like knowing all the basics or all the fundamental parts of how to throw a dope jam, like he really helped us to actually bring this vibe to our city somehow. And first Outbreak Europe that we organized was a big success, and then it just kept growing from then on. And having people like Roughneck Attack, like Eastside B-Boys already in the first edition, like so many dope battles already first year. Of course, Poland, Poland is a huge breaking scene, like a 2-hour drive. So like it was already crazy in the first year.
Man, your events have contributed to so much of the current generation's inspiration. People watch the battles that have happened at Outbreak Europe over the years, and they continue to grow from that. They develop, their own styles that come from this footage. To say that it was successful is an understatement. I
yeah.
mean, you've continued growing every single year to the point where it almost feels like you can't break to the fullest extent without ever experiencing an outbreak. Because, like, for example, Felix, right? He went and he had this massive, like, whoa, this is it. This is like peak hip hop culture. I haven't been myself, but I have to change that, especially after hearing all these stories. One thing that I think is super important to touch on is the fact that your events are essentially now the one of the cornerstones of European hip hop, actually. And for people like me that have never been, or people that have been, we look forward to this event every year. The footage that comes out from it, who's going to attend. Obviously, if you're going to attend, you look forward to that experience. What fuels you to continue pushing forward and continue expanding on the legacy that you've already created?
Well, our main purpose now is to carry on legacy of Max One. I think there is nothing stronger than that. Of course, like we want to provide for the community, keep, inspiring a new generation. and provide a platform not only for competition ciphers but parties. I mean, parties are our specialty too. But yeah, like the main thing is to remind the community, or especially the new generation that never met Max, that this was the vision he said long time ago with his screw, Unique Style Screw, in 2003 when they did the first edition, and we just carry on the legacy and trying to keep that essence and keep that, again, the vibe that hit me when I visited Outbreak for the first time, when I attended Outbreak first time 2006. So we're just trying to bring this and in a way also educate the kids that breaking is not only about the competition, but you know, you have the cipher time, that there is more elements. Like we also have a camp, a 5-day camp prior to Outbreak. It's called Youth is the Future, where we going through all the 4 hip hop elements. You know, we have graffiti workshops, we have DJ workshops, scratching, digging, beatboxing. So we're trying to teach kids or get them exposed to all 4 hip hop elements, because I think this is the very important. It's all about the education, and again, each one teach one. So yeah, I guess the main purpose is to keep the legacy of Max One alive and keep educating and keep inspiring the new generation, because it's our responsibility as the older generation to pass it, because I saw it in a lot of countries where the older generation not successfully passed the knowledge to the new generation, and then there was a big gap, and then the new generation had to catch up. So you can see some countries where the old generation really passed it effectively, and then the new generation grows so much faster, you know. So I think this is important on a global level to keep Outbreak Europe and the Legends Blast Festival alive, and you know, close that gap on the international, you know,
I just want to say that Youth is
perspective.
the Future, that camp, is not even just for kids. Like, I
Yeah.
know people that are like our age, well, like Luis's age, you know, that have gone there. Arthur Lean, a
Oh,
friend
he
of
went?
ours. Yeah, he went. He's like, yeah, we went there, and then there's a bus that takes you to Outbreak right after. Luis, by the way, you're frozen. Anyways, it was just like really eye-opening that it's almost like you get to go to camp before you go to this party. You know, you go to the camp,
Yeah.
you go to the festival, and you go to the festival with people that you were just out with at camp. So it's just so cool because, man, do I wish that camp existed when I was like 10 or even 15 or even 20.
Yeah.
You
Yes, just
know,
straight up. I mean, we were doing the Youth is the Future camp just last 3 years. What you're talking about is Catch the Flavor, that was co-organized with
that's the
Polski
flavor.
Flavor. Catch the Flavor. But yeah, so like now, because the guys kind of like stopped doing the camp, so and we again wanted to close the gap, so we're continuing now with Youth is the Future. But yeah, it's a very similar concept, and yeah, the main purpose is really to inspire the youth. And as you mentioned, it's the camp for all ages, so you can have a 5-year-old, you can have a 50-year-old. It's too late to start, right? You can always start
Exactly.
breaking. Shout out to Vigor's father. You know Vigor from Poland. His father started
Yeah,
breaking at the age of 40 or something like this. He can do some power moves too.
Never
So
too
it's
late.
never too late. It's never too late to break. So yeah, it's the camp for all ages, and yeah, we're blessed. And again, shout out to Polski Flavor that we work with together for the Catch the Flavor camp before.
Man, you know, we all talk about the success of an event and we all talk about the results, right? We see the amount of people that come, we see the amount of support that you get from the community, maybe the final product, right? But for you as an organizer and as someone that is now the head of this project that continues on a year by year basis, talk a little bit about what the preparation looks like. When do you start prepping for the next outbreak? What does that process look like? Give us a little bit behind the scenes, in a little bit of information of what goes on.
Mhm. As soon as we finish, you know, the latest Outbreak Europe edition, we start planning or working on the new one. So obviously, you have to wrap things up with the sponsors and everything. But we have a great team. Like we're an incredible team. I always say this: you can only do so much as a solo person, but in order to grow and progress and to do big things, you need an amazing team, and we have an amazing team. of people. So we have around, I would say, maybe 3-4 people working full time on the festival throughout the year, you know, trying to get sponsors, negotiating everything, like getting the venues, choosing the lineup, getting the tickets, you know, talking with the hotels, and because there is a huge infrastructure behind the Legis Blast Festival. We have over, I think last year we have over 120 people working in the team. We have a lot of volunteers. Also shout out to our volunteers. I mean, without volunteers it would be impossible, and we're so lucky that we have a dance school in Banska, and through Romana, who is one of our team leaders, we have access to a lot of volunteers, which I see a lot of events are struggling with. So because you need that manpower to, you know, to handle a lot of things. And so the main thing for us is like we always try to improve and make a better edition every time. So what we're doing, you know, we have a lot of departments within the festival. You know, we have accommodation, the camp, clothing booth, food, drinks, you know, judging system. I mean, you name it. We have over like 10 departments, and we have team leaders or the department leaders, and they have some people under them. So we usually have like a core team. We do the main meetings with the core team, and then the like the leaders of the different departments have meetings with their team, you know. And so we collect feedback from each department, and so they collect feedback from their department, and then they push it to us. And then like we have open discussion, what we can improve, because you know it's a huge infrastructure. So you can never do things perfectly 100%. So every year we collect this feedback, not only from our team but also from the community, from the judges, DJs. You know, we send the questionnaires, or we ask online through social media what we could do better, because we know like we always mess something up, even though it doesn't seem so. But you know, so our main thing is like you can always grow and you can always make the event better. And I think this is why we are kind of successful, that we keep growing, keep improving, keep listening to the community, because if we do just the same event every year, there will be no motivation for us, you know. So we trying to improve all the time. Like for example, from this year we had over 250 improvements. Even though the event looked great, there's still so many, because there's so many processes within the festival that can be improved, that yeah, like and maybe we improve 70-80% of them for next year, and then next year again another 200 improvements, you know. So I think this is the way to go, but you are only able to do it if you have a great team. And again, shout out to MK, the co-founder, you know, Bernie, he's really a project leader, Rika, which is my cousin, my sister, Michelle. Like we really have it's like a family team, and it's so beautiful to work with everybody together like this. Andre, the graphic designer, yeah, so many. I always forget about somebody, then they get mad, but yeah.
By the way, just like as a designer, shout out to the graphic designer, like the design in general, like for all the little things that goes into what Outbreak and Legits, and I think we're gonna cover Legits at some point in this interview, but just like what impressed me was the experience as a whole, like the visual experience, the professionalism, like the tickets that you get, the laminate that you have, like all those things was thought through. The and just like the way it looks on the screen, the way you introduce like the competitors. But yeah, like that's just something I really appreciate. Even the way the website looks, you know, like you can just tell, like, oh, this is people that are doing this work are professionals in their field.
Yeah,
man.
thank you. I mean, sorry to cut you out. I just want to recognize Spen One, who designs the
Yeah.
graphics, right? He sets the mood for the year. And then we have Andre and my sister, who are the graphic designer, and they put it and they break it down to little designs, and you know, fill everything up everywhere, like all the branding. Branding is very important. So like, especially this year, we just had a lot of branded products all over the venue. And we're trying to create like a theme park for breaking and hip hop culture, you know? So every year we're adding more and more activities. I don't know, table tennis, badminton, like you name it. Like this year we had a lot of, and we gotta keep having more and more, because we want breakers to also like besides dancing and listening to music or whatever, we want them to have fun, you know. So there's now so many more activities that you can do with the homies in between the battles and ciphers.
I think one detail that cannot be understated here is how much you care. And it's not just caring about the details, but it's caring about the experience of who attends. It's caring about the quality of these details too. And not only that, a lot of people, I think, I do events too. I do events in California, but obviously not at the level of Outbreak. But what I always tell everybody that wants to throw an event is you have to care about your event. You have to treat it like an experience, because if you just treat it as a competition, it's not going to translate to the audience. It's not going to stand out. So the amount of care that you put into it is felt by the community. And I have never been to an Outbreak, but I can already tell this experience is an S+ experience just by the way you talk about it. And that I honestly cannot say this enough to anybody that's listening. If you plan on throwing an event, this is the man you want to take notes from right here. He clearly has it locked down, and he said it best earlier today in this interview. One person can only do so much. It's a team. And the fact that you mentioned departments, you mentioned receiving feedback from each department, that system will succeed for a really long time. And it has, and it will continue to do so. And that's why we wanted to have you here. We want to know what it's like is behind the scenes, right? Because we see all the success that you have, but seeing and listening to what your experience is like as an organizer, man, that wealth of knowledge is crazy. Felix kind of beat me to the punch a little bit, but you do Outbreak, but it's all under an umbrella, and that umbrella is the Legits. The Legits, for those of you that don't know, does so many different things, but events is one of the biggest ones that it's known for. The Legits Blast, Outbreak Europe, you know, the camps that you're doing, all of that, I think over the years has really stood out to people. But not only that, you do merch, you have clothing. Not only that, you provide content. You've got a YouTube channel that receives a lot of views and a lot of people watch that footage. Talk a little bit about the Legits, how it started, what your role was in the upbringing. I know you touched a little bit on it, but maybe dive a little bit deeper.
Okay, so before I start talking about Legits, I just want to say, because you were talking about other organizers, getting some advice. I'm always available to help. I communicate with a lot of organizers from all around the world. They have questions, they reach out to me. And I was actually even thinking to maybe organize some kind of, not workshop, but just like a open discussion where organizers can ask me any question, because I would love to share with the community. Again, each one teach one. And this is how Max told me. He never wanted anything for it. So, and this is how we grow as a community, you know? So if anybody wants to ask me anything, I'm always available and I always reply. Like, I just want to say that. And hopefully eventually in the future, maybe I organize some open workshop or sharing, exchanging, because I can always learn from somebody. You never know, you know? So I'm open for that. And now about the Legits, we started in 2013. And our main motto is passion dictates action. This was actually
Love that motto.
it came from a MC called Proto Man from South Florida, from Miami area. And actually Max one was like, yo, like just use that quote. It's actually from the MC in Florida. So I have to, you know, give him credit. Because so the main thing is like we live our passion and we want other people to live their passion too, because if you live your passion you feel like self-fulfilled, and a lot of people are missing purpose in their life, right? So what we're trying to do through our activities is like trying to inspire people to find their passion and to live their passion. We started as a well, why it's called the Legits, like we're just trying to figure out, create a new name that never really existed. So the definition for us is like if you're legit, like you're legit, you know, you're official. So the Legits are people who are living their passion. That's the definition we put together. And passion dictates action is the motto we took from Proto Man, from MC from Miami that Max told me about, and it actually fits really well with the whole movement that we're doing. So and we started as a clothing brand, and then eventually, because you know we had the camp, we had the festival, we started doing concerts. So we talked with Max and he was like, just do a bigger festival and just keep Outbreak Europe as the competition and the ciphers, right, as the breaking jam. And And so we were like, okay, how are we gonna call the festival? It has to have the legits in it. And we're like, okay, let's call it the Blast because we want everybody to have a blast, you know? So it's the Legends Blast. It's a blast for all the legit people out there, for all the legit. So we're like always trying to somehow connect the dots. So yeah, we just called it Legits Blast, and basically it's the festival with the camp, with the competition, with the concerts, with the workshops, with the parties. It just includes so many different things. We even have a workshop with traditional folk dance in a shopping mall during outbreak, and we try to connect it with hip hop. You know, like we just
Yeah.
like do so many different things and mixtures, and so yeah, that's the festival. Then we have the Legit Studios, which is the content creation again to inspire the people to live their passion. So we used to do a lot of like interviews back in the days. Now it's mostly like creation or like the content creation from the festival, from the Legit Blast. And then we also have apartments. Like we rented apartments and we rented them to like the different guests. This actually started during COVID when there was like nothing going on and we didn't wanted to fire our employees. We had to come up with something. So we rented these apartments in a ski resort in Slovakia, and we've been renting them out as a business to regular people. You know, this is a business outside of the breaking community, and we called it the Legis Apartments. So this is another thing we're doing. Oh, I also do some investments on behalf of the company, so that's the Legis Investments. You know, so also when the war started with Ukraine Russia, we did the Legis Foundation where we tried to help the Ukrainian breaking community with that. So everything is pretty much under the Legis umbrella, you know. And again, it's the movement to inspire people to live their passion.
And I mean, it's grown. It's grown from where it started as a clothing brand. You continue to add new fields, I guess, to what the Legits represents. How much control, I guess, or um, how much do you have involvement in each of these fields, or has it grown so much now that other people manage each different area?
I'm pretty much involved with all the departments, but now mostly the Legit Studios is handled by MK and also like Mini Boy. Mini Boy is like the head editor.
Mhm.
And they do also a lot of videos for Red Bull, Red Bull related events. But so I kind of like told MK like to take care of that because it's too many other things to handle, and they're more into videos than me on the content creation. But the rest is pretty much I'm like involved on a daily basis.
That's a
amazing.
true CEO right there. There we
Wow.
go.
Oh, it's just like it sounds like it's a bunch of really close friends
Yeah.
having the time of their lives. It's inspiring. Also, I'm gonna definitely take you up on that offer to like pick your brain about throwing an event because I'm gonna be throwing my first event this year or in the new year.
Wow, let's
Yeah,
go.
not really. I'm like half excited, half thinking, why am I doing this? But we'll talk about that
Just be
later.
excited. Just be
Yeah.
excited and don't expect too many people to show up on the first edition because this is the classic, mistake of the organizer, even for us. If you expect 500, 100 will come. Something like this. But
Awesome.
keep that excitement, bro. Keep that excitement. But yeah, let's have a discussion about that later for sure.
Sure.
So, as Felix mentioned at the beginning of our episode, the reason why we call it The Switch is because we like to talk to people and interview people that have the passion and have turned it into their day-to-day job, their day-to-day life. For you in particular, when was that can you pinpoint that moment that you made the switch from whatever it is that you might have been doing before to doing Legits full time and committing to your brand?
Well, we actually went all in after I finished school, and my business partner MK finished school because we finished school at the same time. And when Max gave us the rights to distribute the biggest and baddest and other brands in Europe, so we went all in. Like we borrowed money from our families, friends. Like our family, they were like, "Yo, you crazy? Like, what are you doing with your life?" When they saw like how much clothes we got from the US, and so we took a huge risk. And and since basically summer of 2009, we just celebrated 15 years of the company. We survived somehow, even though there were a lot of difficult moments. We actually didn't pay each other any company money, I guess, for like 10 years or something with MK. We were reinvesting everything back. And so now it's getting better, but it's like it's a big struggle in a way, and I recommend this, or when people ask me what is the key, or what's the recipe for being an successful entrepreneur, it's the persistence. It's the persistence, and every bad experience make you grow or make you stronger, and we went through a lot, throughout our journey. So yeah, it's I guess we decided as soon as we finish our schools, like, this is it, we're gonna try it, and somehow we made it. Took a long time, I mean, but again, you can give up easily if something happens, but MK and I were like really good friends, and we were just reminiscing the other day, like how many different things we went through, and we're still here 15 years later. So it's very important to find a great team around you, that got your back, and that that you can go through anything with them, and then yeah, you'll be successful.
Was there
Yeah.
ever a moment where you thought to yourself, "Oh man, like I can't keep doing this"? Like like was there ever that pivotal moment in your career with the company?
Yeah, many times, and especially after every outbreak Europe, especially at the beginning, because we were losing so much money. We've made so many mistakes, but again, as we were mentioned before, like, it's all about experience, and basically you are your own. We always say this, you are your own customer, because we're like, I'm a b-boy, I know what I expect from an event. So if something can improve the experience, you just invest. We call it an investment, not expense, because it's investment. You can improve your image or experience of the dancers who are coming to the event. So yeah, like, this is very important.
Yeah, I can absolutely relate to wanting to quit multiple times. There's like been a lot of times where, doing Break Connect, where I've, you know, people complain about something, or they, or somebody doesn't use it the way I want it to be used, or some, there's events that aren't on Break Connect, and I'm kind of like, fuck this, why am I doing this? This is a waste of time. And then I'll go to an event and somebody will like give me like some kind of like, I'll be like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is what it's for. But there's definitely certain moments, and you can like, my fiance, she'll tell you, you'd be like, oh yeah, he'll like have these little outbursts. And I guess that's what they are. They're outbursts that just kind of like, why are things going the way I need them to go right now? But yeah, persistence is definitely key, because ideally at the end of the day, as you're doing what you're doing, like my goal is for me to just kind of keep doing this for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah, exactly. And when you get the feedback from people who come to your event, like, that's what keeps you going. Like, money is not the most important thing, but if you can make a change in other people's life, that's everything. And when you have the whole world coming to your hometown, meeting your family, your mom, like, it's priceless. You cannot buy this feeling. So, even when I talk to a lot of my MBA classmates, they make so much money, but when they see what I'm doing and what they're doing, like, it's different. This is like it's different. Like, you really affect the lives of a lot of people with your work, and this is why I enjoy what we're doing. Like, we have effect on other people's life, and we just want to keep doing it. Because money is not everything. Seriously.
No, but doesn't hurt either.
Of course, of course, of course, of course. You always try to figure out like how to grow. So the more money, the more invest in the scene.
Yeah,
Basically, that's how it should be, right? The more
that's
money you
exactly,
make, the more you reinvest. So, and then
that's
people
right.
appreciate it.
That's real. One thing that you just mentioned that was super important to address is the feeling, right? The feeling, it's priceless. You can't put a price tag on that. And the impact that you're giving to other people is also priceless, because people, just to put this into perspective, like, people dream of going to Outbreak, competing, passing pre-selection. Like, for a lot of people, that's their goal. They look forward to this every year. And for example, my crew just went last year. They had a blast. A lot of my friends have gone. They've had a great time. And for me, it's like, yo, like this is so beautiful. The fact that there's always something to look forward to in breaking, and the fact that this is an experience that so many generations have value in. It's not just, nowadays there's events that are like, oh yeah, the new generation will show up, but maybe there won't be a lot of the older generation or vice versa. But no, everybody goes, kids, teens, adults, OGs, people that are not even breakers, but they just respect hip hop and they love the culture. Man, this is universal. And I feel exactly what you're saying when you say that it's priceless. The feeling is priceless. You've created an event that I think will go down in history. I think we'll continue to build as you go on. For as long as you want to do it, you will continue to build history in hip hop, not just in Europe, but worldwide. But speaking of history, you've been a part of history recently, part of the first ever breaking event in the Olympics. You were not just part of it, you were the head judge. And I think that is a big responsibility for anybody that wanted to take it. But you were the one. You were the one to take that responsibility. And I kind of wanted to dive a little bit into that because I'm sure that has been talked about so many times in your circle this past year. So tell us a little bit about the experience. When did you find out that that was going to be your role? And what was it like for you to be part of that?
Yeah, I mean, man, that was a crazy journey. I don't even know where to start. So just specifically about head judging the Olympics, I learned that I'm gonna be the head judge for the first Olympic qualifier series, OQS Shanghai. I think it was like 1 month before, so it was like April of this year. First event was in Shanghai. And basically it was, as you said, a lot of responsibility because judging in breaking, it's very specific.
Yeah.
Just like judging in, for example, skateboarding or all these urban sports, like it's a culture, it's not only sport, it's a culture. And you don't want to take the rawness from this, and there's so many different things that can kind of kill the art form and the culture. So anyway, so it was a lot of responsibility, and the most important thing was so the head judge responsibility is to get the judges as much ready as possible for the competition, just to make as fair an objective decision as possible. So the head judge is actually not judging, but he's really responsible for the preparation of the judges to deliver the best possible job. So that was my responsibility for OQS Shanghai. So I introduced like a lot of homework for all the judges. I would send them the homework. They would, especially for OQS. For OQS, the most important thing was the press selection, because in press selection you can destroy someone's career basically in a way, when they don't pass. And this goes same for outbreak. If so many people and only so many can make it. So this is very important to like watch the videos. And we actually created some kind of like a recommended scale, because you have from 0 to 100 points that you can give with 1 decimal. And in regular events, people just have, or judges have like their own scale. Let's say some judges don't give you more than 60 ever, or their scale is between 40 and 60. So if someone's scale is 50 to 80 and others is 30 to 50, like it just doesn't make any sense. So especially for OQS, we created some kind of recommended scale, and we decided to remove the highest and the lowest score for each dancer to avoid any bias. And we had to practice a lot with the judges. So for example, most of your scores would not be removed because they're either too high or too low, right? So we did a lot of exercises for press selection, and of course the normal battles, like that you need to submit fast, like the audience and TV doesn't wait for you too long. So there were a lot of different exercises prior to the event and then before the event physically, and we did that for both OQS Shanghai and Budapest. And then for the Olympics, since we didn't have pre-selection at the Olympics, the main focus was just the battles, like react fast, make sure you know how to evaluate misbehavior, for example, because in Budapest it was the last event before the Olympics, so some of the breakers were going all in, and there were so many situations. They're like, was it a misbehavior? What level was it? Like, can we somehow prevent this? You want to make sure that there is no middle finger on the Olympics live stream, you know. So there are so many things to consider, and even were happening in
Don't
Budapest.
tag
So
nobody.
yeah. I mean, it's just like because you know so many people are watching Olympics, and you want to represent the break in the purest possible form. I mean, again, not take the rawness away, but so we had a long briefing with the teams before Olympics, like guys, please don't do this because it's bad for you, for breaking, for everybody. But anyway, so my role was to prepare the judges for both Okius and Olympics, and I think in general, like the judges did a really good job, and I just want to say this, like, we really evaluate, like, for WDSF events, like there is an analysis of judges after every event, and you're checking the scores, like 1 to 8 decision. If you have, because you have 9 judges, right? And if there is a 1 to 8 decision involving your country bias, you know, it's very hard to get invited again, or like there is just this analysis that we're looking at, so the judges are being accountable, you know. And I think this is something that I see as a big progress or big benefit of breaking being in the Olympics, because it's kind of like it brought this accountability for judges, you know. And I even think sometimes for Outbreak, like somehow we need to improve the judges, not the judging system, because in Outbreak we just use the one fader, you know. But like I really like working with the judges with the WDSF events, and now comparing with culture events, like we have a long way to go. Like we really need to try to ensure as fair judging as possible, because again, even for Outbreak, you have people coming from all over the world just for the one round or whatever. I mean, of course they come for the party and experience, but it's the responsibility of the judges to make the most, you know, objective decision. And I think this is something that SCENE can work really hard in the upcoming years to make the judging maybe more transparent, and not just like, I don't want to sound like a sport guy, but judging maybe shouldn't be just like, oh, I like this guy's style better and that's why he won, you know. Like, you know, I think we should evolve from that. But again, I'm not criticizing. Everybody can do whatever they want, but this is just my personal perspective, experiencing this with sport events and seeing how it works at culture events. I think the judges should be more accountable.
And you
Yeah.
know, from the spectator point of view, and you saw this a lot in online conversations that people are having on every platform, you know, because this wasn't just a breaking thing now. This was a worldwide spectator sport. Everybody was watching. And you would see online, a lot of people would say, you know, oh, like this person did all the more impressive moves, but this person didn't do enough. How am I supposed to know as a spectator what the judges are looking for, right? Because even, you know, I think people that were on commentary were even trying to explain it. But at the end of the day, you know, the only one that could really provide that sort of feedback would be a judge. And just seeing it from your point of view is like, yeah, you know, you do have to try to make this as unbiased as possible while also making it as objective as possible. And it's hard. It's hard because you go back to that conversation, right? Like breaking is an art form. How can I objectively grade someone's art? But I think y'all did a great job, really. Like it's in the past now. I thought this was a great moment in history. And the first one, as you mentioned before, you know, the first one is bound to have some mistakes. You follow up with those mistakes, you provide that feedback, and hopefully if there's a second one in the future, which I'm sure a lot of people are hopeful for, there is a bit more clarity and maybe there is a more transparent judging system.
Yeah, just to add to this, like, yeah, I had a lot of meetings with the commentators who were doing Olympics around the world, and I actually put up together a document explaining everything, judging system, battle format, and all that. But as you said, like, yeah, it's a new sport for, you know, for audience, a new art form on a sport platform, but it's hard maybe for people to understand. But some commentators did actually really good job trying to explain it. But again, it's hard. But hopefully we'll be back, and you know, we can get people to understand more. But the hardest part is, of course, originality. What is bite, what is not bite. I wish somebody can do encyclopedia because this is always debatable and one of the hardest parts, right? Like who's biting, who's not biting. But other than that, like yeah, some things could be explained easier.
Yeah. You know what's crazy?
But
Because I've had this conversation about biting with other dancers and skaters. In skateboarding, you see someone do a move, you have the right to try to do that move. You know what I'm saying? Which
Mm,
is like,
mhm.
oh, yeah, of course, because like, hey, they did it, let me see if I can do it. And they don't go, hey man, you can't do that move, that's my move. It's more like a challenge to see if you can do that move. And in breaking, you see someone do a move, you're not allowed to do that
Yeah.
move. Don't you dare, don't you dare do
Yeah.
that move, because now that's a fight. And I understand being able to flip it or whatever, but you know, you see someone do something. I mean, shit, this is how we all started breaking in general. You saw someone do something, and you're like, that's cool. I want to do that thing that they just did. So I have my own issues when it comes to biting. I mean, there's blatant biting, obviously. If you steal an entire round from someone, that's one thing, but move
Yeah.
per move, like that IG account, Biter Base, it really grinds my gears, as they say. Um,
Yeah. It's
but
definitely
anyway,
an interesting topic, but I love originality, bringing something innovative and something new to the table, just general in hip hop, if it's like rap or graffiti or whatever. So I kind of like it, but yeah, this is very hard to define. I don't think anybody figured out the recipe on how to. I mean, of course, like for me personally, like it's more about biting the whole style or you know some signature moves. But again, you don't know who created the signature moves because then you have this guy doing it in 2010, you have a video of this guy doing it in 1998, you know, and then some OG is gonna tell you, oh, this guy actually did it in 1981.
But there's
So
no video, but he
you
did
got
it in
people in the
yeah,
1981.
1940s that were doing it,
so
whatever.
Uh,
it's a tough topic, yeah.
Oh man, no, that we can talk about that for hours, but what I think is really important is that we've kind of talked a little bit about everything that you do, and you do a lot. And it clearly
Mhm.
shows from when you first started, this conversation started with you talking about soccer, and now we're talking about you being at the Olympic level of breaking, right? Which is the first and hopefully not the last time. So knowing that you do so much and that you have an impact that goes just beyond breaking and artistry. It goes to so many different realms of this culture. Um, if you had to give someone one piece of advice on what they could do to expand, or maybe to just take that risk to pursue their love for something, what would it be?
No pressure.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Don't think about it, just do it because I even catch myself sometimes I want to do something but I don't do it. I just think about it for months, for years, but I never do it. It was like with my music. I was thinking about it, but I was not doing it. But then I just did it and you know, and then I just kept elevating. So the most important thing is not to think. If you really want to do something, don't wait. Like don't wait. Just do it. It's simple, you know. And you'll see the door. If you work hard, the doors will open eventually. Like you never know, but just keep grinding. And if you keep grinding, you're ready for the opportunity. But if you don't grind, like that opportunity might never come, you know. And even if you keep grinding and the opportunity never comes, you at least you know you have some motivation, some goals to do it and this is the most important thing. Like if you keep grinding, you're always ready for the opportunity when it comes. You know, I think this is something that I really value. Um, and actually for me, like I also read a lot of books, try to expand my mind because you can only again okay you can only do so much. Your vision is like this, but meeting people from outside of the breaking community or reading some inspiring books, like it always opens your mind and it gives you kind of like a different perspective on things, you know. And again, as I mentioned before, if something bad happened in your life, like you can always look at it from the positive or negative side. Like if you look at it from positive side, like you're like, okay, this was meant to be. This is the challenge. This is gonna make me stronger. This is gonna make me grow. Like it takes some time to realize it, but if you realize it, then sky's the limit. You know, you can keep growing and bad shit can be happening to you, but you just stepping over it and you're just growing and you're getting stronger and you're inspiring others to do the same. So
Man, this whole interview has been super inspiring. There's so much more to talk about, but as I mentioned at the very beginning, our patrons have some questions for you.
okay.
So this was the end of the questions that we have. Our patrons, we will name them as well. They are here. Well, some of them you might know.
Okay.
They have some questions for you, so I'll let Felix go ahead and take it away here with those questions.
Okay, so the first question comes from our supporter of the AER podcast. His question is, has Breaking found a new home in Europe and China via the WDSF?
If the Breaking found a new home in China and Europe, right? Okay, so I'll just explain how it works with WDSF events. So basically, WDSF doesn't organize the events. It's the national member body, so it's the national federation. So there are certain criteria I need to fulfill in order to organize the events. So basically, yeah, I mean, Europe and China are the most active federation that are organizing the events. So also for the future, people are asking me, are there more WDSF events? And all depends on the national federations, on their budget and on their how would I say it, like motivation to do breaking events. So just so you guys understand the structure, it's not the WDSF as an organization organizing events, it's always the national federation. Basically the same like Red Bull is doing. You have Red Bull Brazil, so it's organized by Red Bull Brazil or stuff like this. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And this is kind of like not necessarily a patient question, but more of a question that we didn't totally cover. Okay, Okay, so what's the difference in major US events versus major European events? And because basically, like, and this is one of the things I like to talk about because when I went to Outbreak, I looked at it as a true festival. You know, like this is a festival. And then there's certain events in the US that are like, come check out this festival. And I remember thinking, this is not a festival. This is not a festival. Outbreak is a festival. This is not a festival. You know what I'm saying? So why do you think there's kind of like this gap between European events, which seem to just be massive? Every event, whether it's in France or like Spain, Asia, even. I know we said Europe, but it feels like every event that happens on the other side of the pond is, well, the other side of the pond and above the hemisphere, kind of like Europe, Asia, this part, is just like massive. Versus when you go to like the US event, there's maybe like one or two really well-known big events, but the scale is still
Mhm. I think it has to do with the team. Because I know in US it's kind of hard to get a bigger team that can do bigger things. I saw it from Outbreak when we organized Outbreak, helped Max One organize Outbreak in the US. It was very hard to get the volunteers, or like we organized Outbreak, I don't know, what was it, like 10 or yeah, Outbreak 9 or 10. It was just like, I don't know, like 10, 15 people at max. There were like no, it's very, I feel like in US it's very hard to get volunteers to help you to do an event. It's very hard to put more people together. And again, the more people you have, the bigger event, the bigger festival you can do. So I think just in US in general, it's just harder to get like a bigger team. In Asia or Europe, it's easy. Like when you go to, I don't know, IBE or some other event like our event, or in France or Asia, in China, you have so many volunteers who are like smiling and happy to contribute somehow. And I feel in the US maybe this is the main difference. I don't know, especially from maybe 10 years ago or something like this. It's hard to get people motivated to help you, because obviously you don't have big budget to pay for 20 or 30 people to help you in a team, but it's just the motivation to contribute to something and do something for free. Let's say it this way. I don't want to diss US, you know what I'm saying? But this is just from my perspective. It's hard to do big things with small team. So I think it's the team. Second thing, probably money. I don't know what kind of sponsorships US events are getting compared to Europe. Maybe not maybe, but for sure there are more governments funds in Europe. I mean, my country, not really. We're in Eastern Europe, and it's totally different from Netherlands or France. But for sure, in those countries in Western Europe, like there's big government funding because you want to keep the streets off the street, keep the kids from the streets. So you get some funding. So maybe the funding is bigger in Europe, and maybe there is bigger structures, like events that are happening every year. They just have some kind of a structure, you know. But again, shout out to those like in the US who are holding it down, like Cross One, legendary freestyle
For
session.
sure.
You know,
for
even
sure.
events like this that inspired us all the time. So it's just a different maybe mentality. I don't know. That's how
Yeah.
I feel it.
Cool. Okay. Back to the Patreon questions. Okay, so Bay Rockers, shout out Bay Rockers and shout out AER Podcast. Bay Rockers asks, how do you create an engaging experience for both live and virtual audiences? Oh,
Live and so basically the question is how you transmit the energy you feel in person online, the live stream,
yeah.
right?
I just want to add real quick, just,
Mhm.
and I think this is important because we were talking earlier about like the content that Outbreak creates. And I remember when I first started watching Outbreak videos, like the battles, there was a lot that went into it that made it engaging. Like that's one of my like from like July to September, I know what I'm going to be watching on YouTube.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, so again, I guess it's bringing your experience and learning from previous years, like how to make it better. So, and also it's about connecting. If you want to do something successful, you cannot do everything on your own. Like you need to get some other stakeholders or some best guys in whatever they're doing. So, for example, we have an incredible live stream team, right? They're also filming like MMA matches in Slovakia from 20 different angles, right? For Outbreak, I think we use around 7 camera angles, but still it's a pretty good production, and it's all about first of all, you need to have good lighting and good sound at the venue to create that visual look, not only for dance participants at the venue, but also for the live stream. So the lighting and sound is super important to have a good quality sound, and then the camera angles, because you know you can film breaking from the top, imagine from the top, but you don't see anything.
Yeah.
So or you can see the dances from behind, like from his back, but you don't really see. Like you need to have certain angles to film breaking correctly. Like this was also a big issue at the Olympics. Like we tried to brief the TV through, like we had a bunch of meetings, like how to film breaking, because breaking is very specific. You cannot film it as a table tennis, for example, right? And then, for example, you add the camera angle for a DJ, because DJ is the god at the breaking jam. If anybody asks him what's the number one thing at the breaking jam, is the music. If the music is whack, your jam's gonna be whack, right? So you wanna have the DJ angle showing the connection of the DJ with the dancers. Then you want to have a camera angle with the whole crowd, like the whole venue again. So I guess it's really about the lighting, sound, and the angles. And of course, another important fact or thing is to have somebody who is experienced and when to switch which camera angle, because this can sometimes sucks. And this is we are very careful about this at Outbreak. We need to have a b-boy who understands and telling us like, okay, now put this camera, now put this camera, now put this camera, because the regular live stream crew, they don't know, like what to film. And sometimes you can see that some events, like somebody's doing crazy move, and the camera crew is showing people's faces for 5 seconds. So this is very important, I guess there are more factors, just at the top of my head, what is important.
For sure. Okay, this is a good one. What is your approach to securing sponsorships and how do they impact the event?
This is crucial. Again, if you want to do bigger things, you need funding, you need resources. Um, I always say, like, if you're not in the US but outside of US, always try to apply for a US Embassy grant. I actually recommend this to a bunch of organizers, and they got it, because this is one of the easiest ways to get funding to bring US guests to your event. So US Embassy, just go to US Embassy in your country. Again, sorry, this is outside of US, but go to US Embassy in your country and look for small grants opportunities and fill out the application. And basically, because we are promoting American culture of hip hop in our country, and we want to bring American guests, and US Embassy really likes this. So a lot of the organizers can bring US guests, and this can help with your budget, right? So this is the first thing I say to organizers from countries outside of the US. Then, of course, there is so many different categories of sponsors, and you need to sit down, do your homework, and start, approaching your city, commercial sponsors, local governments, national government. I don't know, in Europe, we have European Union grants. These are like the government fundings. Then you have private sponsors. Some companies who would be interested or who wants to target your target audience, breakers. It has to be perfect fit. You need to show them that your target market, your customers are could be their potential customers. So you need to somehow create this fit and create a very professional pitch. The more professional, the better. Like, for example, we have, I don't know, 80-slide presentation when we go to a major sponsor, we go slide by slide. And like this is like you're basically solving problem for them. Like they have a marketing budget, and you need to show them that they should spend it on your event, because through your event they can reach to people who are coming to your event, in a way. And so, for example, for us, after Legis Blast, we sit down for 1 month, and we create this 200-page document. This is crazy. And you basically showing, and we customize it for each major sponsor, like how their logo was positioned, how many billboards, how many people watched the live stream, how many people watched the battles. Like, it's so specific. And when you come with something like this to a sponsor, I mean, again, this took us 15 years to get to this point. But when you come with a book like this and you put it on the table, and they're like just impressed, So it's really about like aligning your target market with other companies' target market, and you need to sit down and write down the categories of different sponsors or somebody who could give you money, because there's so many different. Again, like if somebody wants to reach out to me, I can have one-on-one conversation and try to help them figure it out. But there's so many ways you can get funding somehow, but you just need to invest some time, because breaking hip hop is a beautiful culture, and we really do so much for the kids or for the youth around the world. Like, again, we take kids from the streets, and we're saving lives. I mean, not we, but the culture of hip hop.
Yeah.
And this is something beautiful. This is something beyond maybe regular projects. Like, I mean, even in my country, you get so much money to just take kids to the forest or something. I'm just saying, like, the projects like this versus like hip hop or breaking jam, where I mean, you can do so many things. So it really depends on your pitch and who you approach, and connections. Make connection. Everything is about connection. You can have the best possible project in the world. If you don't have connection, it's very hard to make it. It's about who you know.
You need that break.
So network. Yeah.
Okay. So Bay Rockers, if you listen, you need to move to not the US and get some uninsured patients. That was the biggest takeaway. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. Because Bay Rockers, by the way, we did cover some of the questions in the interview already, so I'm not gonna go through everything they asked. Just these.
Bless you.
And I'm back. But this is a nice question. Can you share a memorable moment or lesson learned from a past event? Now, I'm sure you've had a lot of them, but if you want to pick one or two that really stand out.
Good or bad?
Well, on this podcast, we definitely want to lean into the bad, but if you can also find a good one, that would be good.
I think,
Any lesson is a good lesson.
yeah, I mean, the hardest thing that can happen in your event is if someone's health is affected. So the hardest moment for us was when we had the accident with float.
Yeah.
We were float. So that was incredible hard. I mean, I don't really want to go more in detail, but that definitely pushes your limits on what is the most important thing. And it's the safety, and that's why we never take we never took things lightly even before that. Like, we always have everything in place, but this was like, yeah, very unfortunate accident. So when I also tell organizers like what they should think about, like the safety is everything, and always be ready to handle situations. So it was the situation with Float and the 2 weeks that followed. So rest in peace, Float, and yeah, that was a tough one. And after this, like my borderline of what I can take, just again, every experience make you stronger in a way. So this was definitely one of them.
Now a
Um,
happy one.
huh?
Now do a happy
What?
one. Do
Yeah,
like
the
a,
happy one.
yeah.
Happy ones. Oh, I mean, there's so many moments. I don't know. Like for me personally, of making music, it was this year, for example, when we performed with Fusig Live, and I rapped the Legis Blast anthem along with the Bieber Kleju. Being on stage with Fusig, with Felix, that I know from the very beginning, the co-founder of Outbreak, and I love Fusig. Like Fusig is my favorite, music for breakers, and just being on the stage with them and rocking it, and just being in that moment, that meant a lot for me personally. Um, I don't know. Again, there's so many beautiful moments. I cannot really think of anything specific. It's just, yeah, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Like my mom meeting everybody
That's
and
awesome.
dancing with everybody at the after party and closing the after party. That's so beautiful. But I don't know, just smiling faces of the people who come to Outbreak means everything to us, and
That's
and
sick.
and, uh, and our team, like seeing our team totally destroyed after the festival, but with a smile that we did it, another great addition and motivation to keep going. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay. These next sets of questions are from our mutual friend Roxray. And he actually, because when I talked to him and I told him I'm going to be doing this interview with you, he got excited and he's like, oh man, he started like, I wonder this, I wonder that, I wonder this. I'm like, we do have a Patreon, like, as a Patreon subscriber, you can ask these questions. And he's like, oh, word? I'm like, yeah. So then he wrote these questions down. Okay,
Okay.
so what is the next goal for WDSF breaking events?
Okay, so now there is the Youth Olympics coming out 2026. So now WDSF needs to focus on both youth and adults. So now again, it depends on the national federation how many events we're gonna have in the upcoming years. So there must be some qualifiers for the Youth Olympics, which is I think in the fall of 2026. And this is what I specifically really enjoy, because I was at the Youth World Champs in China, which is I don't know if it was the first one, maybe it was the first one for the youth. And I love to see kids or the platforms for the youth, because even at Outbreak, like Kids Battle is kind of like a side thing, even though we had almost 200 kids, crazy level. But I think I personally feel like we are missing platform for the youth, or some kind of like structure. And when you see the kids with the coaches and the families, like super inspired and just want to battle, like sometimes you like to enjoy kids more than adults. But I'm talking about kids of the incredible level. I mean, what we saw in China was ridiculous. So I think this is gonna be one of the main focuses, the youth for WDSF, to start building this platform for the future, because this is something we don't really have at the moment. I feel like everything is just scattered around with some kids battle. So this will be great. And also for the adults, there is a World Games in August. And I mean, WDSF is really trying to get breaking back to Brisbane 2032. I keep saying I still feel something could happen with LA, but I guess the chances may be like 1%, but you never know.
So there's
Because
still a
let's let
chance.
that's just my personal perspective, what I heard. But let's be honest, like IOC, they love breaking. Breaking was the most successful sport. I don't like to call it sport, but it was the most successful sport discipline at OQS, both OQS events in Shanghai and Budapest. We had skateboarding, sport climbing, BMX. Like people in Shanghai were trying to get in, but it was sold out. Like the in Budapest, I think skateboarding had like 500 people, breaking had 3,000. And like just IOC was so sad about LA's decision because again they have this rule that city that is organizing the Olympics can choose new sports, right? So IOC really wants breaking, and unfortunately LA decided that they decided. But so they really love breaking to the level that they really want in the even in the future OQS events still somehow keep breaking, even though for now it's not an Olympic sport. So let's see. Let's see what's gonna happen. I know IOC loves breaking. They love the energy, but yeah, it really depends. At the end of the day, it depends on the organizing committee of the city that is organizing the Olympics. But hopefully, we'll be back in Brisbane and hopefully in LA in some form or shape. I don't know. Let's see.
So that actually answers one of the other questions that he had. How is the Youth Olympics being qualified? So is that, I guess, is it any different than regular Olympics being qualified?
So the qualification system will be it needs to be approved by IOC because this is again like people need to understand in the sport world there are so many stakeholders. It's not like me at Outbreak. Okay, I'm gonna make decision. That's how it's gonna work. It's the same for WDSF. They cannot just make decision. Like it has to be aligned with so many stakeholders. I think at the Olympics there were like 7 different organizations that have to agree on the decision. So for the Youth Olympics qualification, it has to be approved by IOC. It was supposed to be approved already, but I think it will be approved by February. So after February, the qualification system can be published, like how it's gonna work, which events, and so forth.
Okay, answer that one. Okay, so this one is interesting. There's 2 more questions left from Rockstrike. He's got a lot on his mind. What are the benefits that you have seen from people that made a run at the Olympics? Now, I personally feel like I've seen, specifically with Vicious Victor, kind of like him blow up, just getting like a lot of these sponsorships, like Google, for example, Delta. Have you seen that in any other competitors on your end?
So what Olympics contributed to the dancers? Is that the question? Like how they benefited?
How they benefited from competing or making a run
Okay.
at the Olympics?
Yeah. Well, I think there was a lot of hype around Phil Wizard already prior to Olympics and even after. So I think he secured a lot of sponsorship. I think also Ami. So yeah, I'm for sure certain dancers they got, I would say more of a like there were more opportunities, especially before the Olympics actually happened. Like on like just the average dancers who were competing at the qualification system, like some of them were getting a regular fee from the governments, from Ministry of Sport. They were getting paid like the preparation, travel, hotels, plus they were getting monthly salary to prepare for the Olympics. I don't really know what happened after the Olympics, but mostly like these opportunities were coming prior to Olympics. I'm sure like the winners, like the gold medalists, were getting more opportunities after. But yeah, just in general, there were definitely more like financial opportunities for the breakers, even those who were not at the Olympics but who were part of the qualification, especially in countries like I don't know, like Japan or China or somewhere where breaking is really big, because again it depends on the country, like how popular breaking is in your country. So yeah, I mean I cannot be more specific, but I know Phil got a lot of sponsorship from, I think, like I don't know, Visa, Lululemon, and I mean I don't know.
That's awesome.
Ami did a photo shoot with Louis Vuitton. Like, I mean, there are so many different things.
That's awesome. Lululemon is a great brand. No,
Yeah.
I'm not playing, like, I like their clothes.
Or Toyota, I think you got sponsorship from Toyota.
Yeah, Toyota too.
Yeah.
Sick. Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up, like, I always kind of thought that it would bring some kind of spotlight to the competitors. So glad to hear that. This is a final one from Rocks, and this was actually kind of interesting. Is there a possibility to expand WDSF events into a more diverse category set, like a Bonnie and Clyde or even a 4v4? And I guess what 4v4, like crew versus crew.
Yeah, great question. And again, like this was one of the topics for the upcoming LA Olympics, like when it was still not confirmed, but our main goal was to introduce crew battles, like team battles. Because that's the real essence of breaking, right? Everybody knows that. You see the routines, the energy, the chemistry. So that's the cream of the crop of breaking. So that's actually our ultimate goal, to get the team battles to Olympics. But yeah, so there was already first competition, WDSF competition 3-on-3 in Portugal in August. It was part of the World Battle. So you had 3-on-3 teams, like national teams, and they were battling. Like the judging system was adjusted for routines. Like there are different buttons for if you did the routine, you got some extra percentage. If you messed up routine, it was taken down. So again, this is a long-term vision of WDSF to have team battles, and there was already one competition in August, and you could immediately see different vibe, like way more energy, way more teamwork, way more chemistry. And I think in the future, there might be more team battles, and I guess this is the direction where we want to go. About Bonnie and Clyde, yeah, I mean, sky's the limit. You can create the categories, but right now, I think we need to secure as many events as possible for the youth and adults, but of course trying to test this team concept. But it was definitely a big success in Portugal. Dancers enjoyed it, and yeah, hopefully we can have more of those.
That's awesome. Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's everything from our patrons.
Yes. MG, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for joining us and answering all the questions everybody really wanted to get a little bit of your information, your insight. And we learned a lot from you today. I think the biggest takeaway here being that you just believe in spreading that knowledge and helping others out and just continuing to provide to the culture. So again, thank you so much for providing for our patron members, our subscribers, the people that listen to our podcast. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and
Thank you
also,
very. Yeah, go ahead.
just like a big thank you for me, because also not only like being like an inspiration and kind of like having some kind of influence on how I am pursuing breakneck, but also like I don't know if you know this, Luis, but I hit up NG when I first came out with the judging system for breakneck. I had NG actually like, yeah, I did like a Zoom call with him.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
just kind of have him look at it. And there's actually some more cool features that I really want you to look at. And obviously we can do that another time, because one of my main goals, and I'm just putting this out there, is to have Breaking Neck at like Outbreak, to be used at Outbreak. So I might not be there
Okay.
yet, but I'm definitely pushing it in that direction. And I told Luis that if it ever happens, I'm gonna fly me and him out there for when it does happen.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
That's the
call
vision.
me and yeah, let me know. And let's talk
will.
about it.
Right.
NG, man, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing
Thank you
this.
so much. Thank you for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me, and shout out to you guys for doing what you're doing, because we need more of this. We definitely need more of this, and it's amazing that you guys are creating platform for guests like me speak up and share, exchange, and it's beautiful. This is what our culture needs.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right,
Now
y'all.
listen.